I am a life coach specializing in transformation and mindfulness practice. I am also a holistic practitioner, a teacher, and I am known as the Badass Buddha. And tonight we have all my guests are just so fantastic for words. It's like one after the other, after the other. And so it's for me to say I have an absolutely fantastic guest today. It's like each week is that way. So if this is the first time you are tuning in, you need to come on more often, and you need to go back and view the previous episodes, because I can't even remember what episode I'm on right now. It's the beginning for this particular series, but every guest is absolutely fabulous, and this guest is no exception, and you will see that. So my guest this evening she is a strong, go ahead and show the muscle, Lisa. She is a strong, driven, inspiring, beautiful woman. Her name is Lisa Frumhoff, and let me go to the bio, okay? So Lisa is the owner of Lisa Frumhoff Real Estate and has been an agent for 26 years. So she started when she was 5.
That's right.
She was a computer programmer before becoming a real estate agent, currently an author of the book Anatomy of Accomplishment. She is a speaker, creator, Reiki Master who specializes in energy clearing, a life coach, transformer of body, mind, and spirit. I love that one. A former caregiver to her parents, an athlete, and a former athletic star. She was All-American Soccer Goalkeeper 1983, two-time Hall of Fame inductee in Rolla, Missouri's SNT University 2002, first woman soccer player inducted, I'm running my sentence, I think, 2012 inducted with 1983's women's soccer team, gold medal 1994 softball at the Gay Games Olympics, 1985 soccer goalie on the North Regional Women's Soccer Team for the National Sports Festival in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Running out of breath. In the early rise of women's soccer, so she's a pioneer, everybody. She's a juggler, a pottery maker, making sacred drum. Is it Udu drums? Is that how you pronounce it? Okay.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has been a part of Landmark since 1986. She is a philanthropist, currently raising money for two nonprofits, the Marty Frumhoff Memorial Garden and the MS 150. So welcome, Lisa. Oh my goodness, so much. And oddly diverse. It's not even I think it speaks volumes of your personality, correct? All the different layers of you. So how are you this evening? How is everything going?
Oh my God, I'm fabulous. I'm doing really well. I'm nourished and well rested and had a fabulous day, and the weather's beautiful. I feel very blessed today, and I'm just thrilled to be here with you. Thank you so much.
And where are you coming from? You're coming from, tell everybody where you're
I am in St. Louis, Missouri. I live in the city of St. Louis by Forest Park in the Midwest.
Very cool.
St. Louis, yeah.
Sorry, I was fiddling with my phone to get us on the Facebook page so I could see if there's any comments. So yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say I live near Forest Park, and some people say that it's the largest in the city park in the country, and others think that Central Park. So it's kind of close, but we have a really amazing city here and an amazing park and lots of great things here in St. Louis. Nice people.
That's great. Oh, you're nice people. That's good.
We are.
Now, are you originally from that area, or did you?
I am. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I was born and raised in University City. In St. Louis, we're commonly known as asking the question, where did you go to high school? I like to ask the question because I like to see if I know somebody that they know, to have an instant relatedness. But I graduated from University City, born and raised there, class of 82. And every year we go back for our alumni reunions. It's like a big family. It really, I feel very blessed that I grew up in a very diverse racially and ethnically community.
Great.
And that, yeah, it's St. Louis definitely has its segments and stories out there. I'm proud to be from St. Louis. And
That's great. I have to take a drink of water. For some odd reason, my mouth, and I'm smiling at you, and it's like my mouth is literally drying as I'm smiling, and I'm having to make these really weird faces.
oh, don't do that. Drink some water. You know, did
So
you
I
know while you're
apologize.
drinking, we're supposed to drink 120 ounces of water every day. We're mostly made up of water, actually, and energy. So 120 ounces of water every day, that's one of my secrets.
That sounds good to me. And I definitely don't. That's always been a challenge for me. And knowing that I'm supposed to be drinking a lot of water, it's always been a very big challenge for me to remind myself to do it, because I got into the habit of just going so long and not really being too overly insatiable with a thirst. So I got used to that. Okay, so I've got some great questions for you tonight, and I just want to do, every so often I'll stop to do shout outs to people. So good evening, Michelle. Michelle was on the morning show watching this morning, and Michelle's ending her day with me. So thank you for coming on, Michelle. I appreciate that. And as people will get on, we'll say hi to them. And okay, so let's see, so this is what I came up with, because when I was going through Lisa's bio, I was just like, oh my gosh, so you are, and I literally put this, holy moly, you are a lot of things: an entrepreneur, a Reiki master, an athlete, an author, a speaker, a creator, a life coach, a philanthropist, I said author already. I liked it so much I had to say it twice. Transformer of body, mind, spirit, and the juggler. So while I'm going to ask you, what do you do to ground yourself or create balance? The first thing I do want to ask is, juggler, where did that come from? Because that is such an odd little piece into that. So tell me about the juggling.
Yes, well, juggling, I actually love to say I learned it in college. So I've known how to juggle now for almost 40 years. I was standing in line, actually. I was a sophomore in college at Rolla, Missouri. Back then it was the Rolla Miners, and now it's S&T University, part of the University of Missouri Columbia, University of Missouri school system. Intern jobs that were announced at Rolla, and you had to, people started getting in line the day before, and so I skipped soccer practice, as well as many of us did, to stand in line. They only took the first 100 people actually to sign up, and I was actually the 100th person. But while I was standing in line, or rather laying in line, there was this guy juggling, and I was just watching him, and I thought to myself, I always wanted to learn how to juggle. And he saw me watching him, and he was like, hey, you want to learn how to juggle? And I was like, oh no, that's okay. And he's like, what else you got to do? And I was like, well, you got a good point there. Sure. So for like hours, until about midnight or so, I kept bending over hundreds of times until I got that first 3 round objects in a row. It's the most amazing experience. But it's like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, you never forget.
Oh yeah, but it's such a funny story too. It's like, it's one thing to learn how to juggle, but just to be like, hey, I'm standing in line, let me try.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have always said, I've always wanted to learn how to juggle. We're in a good time right now to pick up those habits or those hobbies or those things that we've always wanted to learn how to do. I taught myself how to juggle pins after I learned how to do the round objects.
That's very cool. Yeah, because that one's added because it's spinning. You're flipping them and then spinning them at the same time.
Oh yeah,
it's more complicated.
It's definitely more complicated.
That is so cool. I took a Mind Valley Mind Quest course with Jim Quick. Jim Quick is he's known for memory, and he does speed memory, speed reading. And one of the things that he tells you to do is to learn how to juggle as part of a to enhance your brain, because you're utilizing different areas of your brain, because you're using the physical, plus you have to time it just right. So it takes a lot more than just, say, doing other little things here and there, like physical movements. But and I'll tell you, so I totally failed on it. No matter how hard I tried, I just could not juggle. So maybe when all the COVID stuff is over and we get together in person, you could show me how to juggle, Lisa. So, okay.
Would love to.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Eileen. Eileen, I'm so glad you're on tonight. So, okay, let's get to our first, official question. So, what do you do to ground yourself and create some element of balance in your life, if you feel that balance is even possible?
Yes, well, I do use that juggling balls as an analogy. It's, for me in life, kind of like the mind, body, spirit fullness. There have definitely been times in my life where I've not had balance, and I worked too much. I wasn't doing my hobbies. I wasn't exercising or eating well. And all those times when I've been off balance, now where I'm at in my life is really taking on my health and well-being, and taking on being the best real estate agent I can be. And it's also critical, I know now, to have the balance. I walk consistently almost every day. I've been a little off balance because I just moved. So life has its things that come up that cause shifts in routine. I had big routines down, and so I'm creating new routines. But some of the other things I do is I take time in the morning to meditate, to make my gratitude list, to take quiet time. I do Reiki on myself every morning. I play my drums. I make clay drums. So part of my meditation and quiet time in the morning is playing my Udu drum and playing my African drum, and just spending some time by myself and carving out that time, and working on scheduling appointments, blocking time out. And the other thing that I find is critical for me these days is really making that time to eat healthy. And so really since October last year, really taking on my health and fitness, even though I've dropped over 90 pounds since 2010, since October 2019 is when I really learned about food and tracking foods, and following macros. And I eat healthy. I don't eat processed or quick fixes, or I don't take fat burning pills or anything like that. And just really it's about eating healthy and following a plan and having support, and doing the walks on a daily basis has been one of the big saving graces for me in finding my balance. And weight training, as you can see.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say, you don't get arms like that walking unless you're walking on your hands, maybe.
yeah, right.
Anyway.
I also do play pickleball. I discovered pickleball in September 2017. And so I love to get out and play some pickleball, although I've definitely played a lot less since March, I will admit. Things have changed a lot. So I've had to switch up my routine, and even with that, I could see where, just with everything we're dealing with, I found that I've been doing these first form challenges with My Transformation Starts Today, and I have support with group and fitness and tracking all my foods with MyFitnessPal. That has really been the key for me during all this time, is really focusing on my self-care, eating well, tracking everything on MyFitnessPal, and drinking 120 ounces of water every day. Like a few basics, like keeping my stress level balanced and in check. And I think it's made a huge difference having this accountability group with Team Warrior Fitness and my online group coaching with,
yes.
it's just having accountability and having community. I missed going to work out in the different places I was working out in, and creating new routine, like working out in the group. We would do a Zoom call, and then we work out the same time of the day, 4 days a week. And again, like I said, it's finding new routines, because I haven't gotten back in that routine yet. But the preparing foods, keeping myself nourished, making time to take care of myself in the midst of all that's going on, it's key. Taking care of my mindset, that's key.
It's, were you on track the moment everything started to switch back in March, or did you find that you lost your footing a little bit? Because I think a lot of people lost their footing a little bit. And I mean, I know I did. I gained, they talk about jokingly about the COVID-19 or the COVID-10. And I definitely did. I gained about good 10 pounds because I just was out of my routine.
Yeah.
I'm making excuses, but and then I had to redirect myself. But were you able to shift pretty easily?
Yeah, you know what I would say, this is what I found about this time period. I actually kept really focused on my walks, spending more time walking, because I was living in a small household where I had already had plans that I was going to move out. But then when that all happened, we put a halt on it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up moving out a month ago. I'm in my new apartment a month now, which has been huge. Finding all that new routine. When March hit, I actually dropped weight and got more tone and more fit, because I put more focus on me. And what I also learned about this time period is 13 years ago, in 2007, my sister was 50 years old, and she died suddenly of high blood pressure. And she wasn't taking care of herself. She was a real estate agent also. And it really was, I would say, probably the most devastating thing in my life. And it knocked me off of my feet. And it took me 3 years to realize that I now was up at my heaviest weight of over 220 pounds. Wow. In 2010. And so when the market turned in 2010, what I learned during that time was that I was not mentally strong. And what I started turning to was, at that time, I actually did get group fitness certified, and I started exercising and taking care of myself more. And I did drop about 60 pounds, but I never learned the food aspect. And I never learned the fullness, like, of a macro diet. So during this time, I buckled down, and actually since March, I think it's about when I started posting more online. I think it's about when I realized that people were going to gain a lot of weight. We're a society. That's one of the things I know. For me, I'm an emotional eater. And so
yes, absolutely.
I wanted to start sharing outside my comfort zone to be an inspiration for others. When people started waking up and realizing, okay, now I've got that 10 pounds on me. Now what do I do? Wherever we are is where we're at. It's just a skin bag. But the minute we start a routine and we start taking care of ourselves, we feel better. And it just perpetuates itself.
Yes, it's just taking that step. I think that's the biggest challenge for people is we get lost. Mm-hmm. We get misdirected, and then we feel we're out of control, and then it makes it worse, because then the more we feel that way, the more out of control we are. And so we take the first step and say, okay, that's enough. I mean, because for me, I ended up taking the step about 6 weeks ago, and I have already lost all the weight that I gained, and actually and then some. And and then you sit there and say, well, gosh, if I never gained that weight and I started this program, I would have lost even more. It's like, you don't go there. It's like, it is what it is. Like you said, it's like you're there at that moment in time, and that's what it is. And you move forward, and then you feel so good once you take control like that.
It's so true.
Whether
It's so
weight
true.
or fitness or just you stepped out of your comfort zone. You started to reach out to help people. You knew that you had insight enough to say, this is probably going to be a very challenging time for people. I want to share my knowledge. And so you also, it's a belief, it's not just about knowing how to eat. It's also knowing why we eat and what triggers us to eat poorly and eat too much. And we are emotional eaters, but we're also, I've noticed too, that we're boredom eaters, and habitual eaters, it's
mindless
yes,
eating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. We go unconscious. I go unconscious at times.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I noticed when it was, it was like, I don't watch a lot of TV, but it would be those moments when I do watch the TV really late at night. The minute I'd sit on the couch, I would get hungry and it'd be like, oh, I'll have some popcorn. I'll have a few potato chips. But then they become a few, more and more. And then next, it's habitual. You're just, every time you sit, you get hungry. And so to literally fight that, to break that cycle. And then you feel very empowered when that happens. But Micah, what's the total loss now for you? How much have you lost?
So I've dropped, I don't like to say lost because I don't want to find it. So
I get that.
I say dropped, I melted, it melted away.
Sounds perfect.
So since 2010, I was over 220 pounds. Now I'm 135 pounds, which I have to say, never in a million years I would have said I thought. In October, when I learned how to eat right, I was 160 pounds. I actually remember the time and the day. I was 160 pounds. I was 29% body fat. It was October 15th at 9:15 a.m. And I remember that moment because it had been 10 months. It'd been 10 months since I'd been working out of the gym once a week. I'd paid a trainer and I got out of it what I put into it. I'd admit I was not consistent. I worked out sometimes 3 days a week. But sometimes 1 day a week, and it wasn't enough. But what I never knew was the food aspect. So by the end of 10 months, I was a little bit more fat because my eating habits had gotten worse. Last year I had lost within 5 months my father and my 2 senior dogs from March to July. And what I did when my youngest dog at 14, I went away for 10 days to a workshop, and I took care of myself, and I did a drum. I learned how to make Udu drums from the African teacher and the expert who makes the Udu drums. By October, I was sitting there realizing, you know what? I could go through the holidays because I had parted ways with my trainer. I was fantasizing about all the food I was going to eat, and I figured I would just wait till January and I'll get back on track.
Oh, yes. We've all said that.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, you're going to have a big hill to climb. But it was in this, here was the thing, Lori. It was in that moment I was on a coaching call. I'm in a group coaching with business owners because I believe in coaching. I believe that helps us see and go beyond our limits. And it's helped me in sports. So I took it on in business, and I'm sitting there in my coaching group call, and my coach uses me as an example to the rest of the participants in our group about, well, look at Lisa. She's had a trainer, and that's how she's had success, is she's had accountability. I felt so busted because she had no. In that moment, I texted one of my friends in the coaching group who's a trainer, and we have an agreement not to do business together. And I texted Melanie and I said, help, I need help. Please send me a trainer. And by 12 her friend had contacted me, and by 5 o'clock that day, I was registered in the next 8-week challenge with her, and also with the My Transformation. And I was 160 pounds, 29% body fat. Now I'm about 135 pounds. My goal was actually 140. I got down to 132, but I want to stay about 133 to 135. But the kicker is my body fat went from 29% body fat down to like 13.1 as of last week. Now maybe I'll stay around 14 or 15. But the real thing that you do when you do these kind of challenges is you take these progress photos every week. So even if the scale doesn't move, you see your body moving.
Yes.
But you also measure. I dropped over 50 inches all around my body.
Oh my God.
And none of my clothes fit me anymore. I have a closet full of all these awesome size 12 and 14 that I dreamed of wearing, and these great dresses that I might have worn a couple times, but like nothing fits me. And I really do want to move them out to make room for the clothes that fit.
Oh my God. Let's see your arms, because I'm obsessed with arms. I absolutely, positively, look at that. Like, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And you know,
That's a tricep right there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You know, I have these mirrors that I asked a client to find these big mirrors for my apartment. This sounds a little silly. I don't know. Maybe not. No, it's not silly. It's actually what happens. So in my mind, I still look like I did. Like I have a cutout of me I can bring out. I had a cutout of me playing pickleball from 2000, from September. And sometimes I'll just stand next to it, or I'll look in the mirror because I'm like, oh, look, that's what I look like. Seriously. So anyway, I have the back of the, so, you know, but it's just like daily consistency. And I don't lift a lot of weight. I think it's over years of being an athlete, but I would say over 20 years of being a real estate agent in my career, I forgot about the athlete in me. So I didn't do a lot of exercise.
But it's what the other thing too is that you transcend the idea that we can't lose weight when we reach a certain age because of our hormones. We can't drop body fat. We can't create muscle. And I've seen it time and time again. I've seen women do it over and over again, and I cringe every time I hear, because I'm at that level. I'm at perimenopause. I so far so good, but you got to get to that 12-month mark. I'm not there yet. I think I'm like 3 months in. But I hear it all the time from people around my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger. Oh, as soon as I hit menopause, that was it. I gained the weight. Listen, I was heavier in my 30s. So yeah. I'm losing the weight, and so is it mindset? Is it belief? Is it hormones? I think it's food. I'm right there with you. I think that it's hormones are so, any misregulation of hormones can throw you off, and it doesn't have to be a natural misregulation like of menopause or perimenopause. If it's the foods that we eat, it's the fluids that we take in our body, it's the movement. Circulation, stress, it's all of the above. And the more that we focus on all of those pieces and less on, oh, I'm in menopause, I can't do this, or I'm in perimenopause, I can't do this. So I love seeing women such as yourself, like, and basically anyone over 45 that went from being chubby, because I'm still working on it. I mean, I've got a lot of ways to go, but to lose it and then say, I lost it, and look how fabulous I look. That's what helps. That's what helps keep everybody focused, and know that they can do that. So
yeah, totally. I think that is I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's definitely been something that I believed for a bit, all up until in October, when I started tracking my food, following what my coach said, walking even though I underestimated the power of a walk. I walk almost every day now, at least 5 days a week I'll walk. I underestimated the power of a walk. You don't even have to run. But it was a belief that I heard over and over again, that once women reach 60, you can't build muscle, or as you get older, it's harder to lose weight. And I heard that, and I am a believer of everything starts with our mindset, and either we believe something and we buy into it, or we create what we want to create through our mindset. And I do believe there's reality to hormones and how that impacts us in our journey of weight loss and muscle gain and having lean body mass.
I agree.
Food is, I believe, 70 to 80% of the whole thing. And I
agree.
I do tend to, I don't eat white sugar. If I eat white sugar, I know it because I have night sweats, but otherwise I don't typically have sweats. But I also, I'm very particular about what I eat, and I can tell a difference when I let myself eat certain foods, because I'm a believer of moderation and allowing our bodies to have diet breaks and to eat certain foods that we don't always eat. I just know that when I do eat those things, I can tell a huge difference in how I sleep, in my quality of sleep, and in the journey of staying lean. And I can tell when I'm bloated and inflamed, and so it's just paying attention to ourselves more.
Yes.
And we know awareness. What foods. Yeah, we know what foods. I used to use food as a treat. I still do. Let me take that back. Food is a treat, and then I have to retrain my mind, because like I'll think to myself, oh, I'll treat myself to this bowl of ice cream. And as somebody who's lactose intolerant, that will make me very sick. And so I then it's like finding other things to treat myself. And when you asked earlier about how do you have that balance and take care of yourself, it's finding other ways to treat myself, whether it's taking 30 minutes to go for a walk, or a nap, or a bath in Epsom salt.
Yeah, that's the truth, because we use food as a reward system when the true reality of food is survival. We need food to survive. And if you find other things, it's interesting because I have a morning show too with a co-host, a beautiful spirit friend of mine. So you can be on that show as well.
I'd love it.
And it's a little feistier. This one's a little calmer, but that one's a little feistier. But
I got feistiness in me. You don't.
Oh, good. That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. You don't be a real estate agent for 26 years and not have some feistiness.
Oh, perfect. Then you'd be perfect on that show. Perfect. So we had a show, I don't know, it was like last month, where we had a guest on, and we were talking about, the title was Food and Sex. And it's funny because most people probably thought it was going to go a certain direction, but it was actually quite an interesting conversation, because what we focused on and what our guest focused on was the idea that we get mixed up, like sex is something that can be pleasurable. Food is something that is a necessity. And sometimes what we do is we substitute what we find to be a necessity with something that's more pleasurable, and vice versa. It doesn't have to be specifically sex, but what he was trying to say is that we overeat to fulfill things that we're lacking. We're trying to find pleasure in the foods that we're eating, when we be finding pleasure in other things. And in that case, he was just referring that it could be connected to sex, but it could be anything. Your walks, playing with your dogs. You're a dog person. I'm a dog person too. In my case, like just going out for a bike ride with my kids, or doing like exploring with my little one. It's like, but you find what brings you joy. And in those moments where you feel like you want to fill with food to make you satisfied, you redirect and you do something else. And again, it's habitual. So you have to retrain yourself to do that, but it is absolutely very possible. to do that.
Yes. And I noticed that when I eat, especially when I'm paying attention to eating protein every 3 to 3.5 hours, which is really the secret for me of the macros and dropping weight. And when I take that first meal in the morning, and usually it has to be like a vegan first form protein shake and coffee. So it's cold brew coffee, and I'll drink it down. And it's about 28 to 30 grams of protein. I thank myself after I finally do it. And it takes something. It makes, I have to build this habit still every morning as early as I can by 7 or 8 at the latest, and I forget sometimes. But the minute I do, I'm like, oh, thank you, Lisa. That felt so good. I can feel the difference. And I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to go to do something else. And I don't make the eating the center, but I make the nourishing myself.
That's nice. That is absolutely beautiful. That is such a great way to look at it, that it's not, because one could look at it, if you're eating or drinking something, you say, oh, I'm making that. No, you're making the nourishment, because it's not you're very specific about what you're taking in. And then I also love the piece that you honor yourself. It's very, very holistically driven. You honor yourself, and you're grateful to you for providing you with this beautiful nourishment. And it's,
yes.
And energetically, that's also absolutely fabulous, because you're eating very high energy, not, like high energy, like you're going to get energy. I mean, very living foods, like life-sustaining foods versus processed, junk that like, look at the diet. I mean, people in the morning, they'll get a cup of coffee, they'll throw sugar in it, and then they'll have a donut, a muffin, and it's just, and I was that person, it's not that I was that person.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my times. I will admit I am not perfect. In fact, I shared on social media the other day. I had to admit, I shared it with a neighbor, and she asked me to share it online. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. I still have the bag of food that I bought. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But mindlessly, I was disappointed. I went to Schnucks right before they closed, the grocery store. And I wanted like fried chicken, and I bought all this candy and stuff that I never eat. And it was just like mindless, but I went for it. And I got home and I ate some of the chicken, but I had to peel the skin back because it was like not what I'm used to eating. And then I threw away most of it. And then I had all this candy and potato chips. Now potato chips is that's my downfall. And I ate some of the chips, but I didn't finish the bag.
That's good.
Like I would have. And then I ate into a piece of candy of something that I actually never eat, but all the other stuff, it was emotional. I stopped 2 bites into eating this piece of candy, and I was like, I looked at all of it, and I was like, what are you doing? You don't want this. You're going to feel horrible if you eat it. And I stopped. I stopped.
That's fabulous.
And then I shared it because I shared about it, and I share about it because, it's progress, not perfection. And
yes,
it's a journey.
There's no perfection. No such
perfection.
The
journey is the goal,
That's
every
right.
every time we have a day or we do something, it's an opportunity to either acknowledge ourselves for growing or you asked again, what do I do for balance? And I go to a lot of nurturing myself. I really am continue to work on being kind to myself. It's not about being perfect. It's
That's
about being kind to ourselves and gentle and loving ourselves. And,
yes,
talking, there's enough negative messages I've collected over my lifetime that are out there. Just, we have millions of thoughts every day. We don't have control over our thoughts, but we do have control over what we let linger in our head. And so when I go on these walks, I really focus on, I've seen that since that March time and things changed in our world like we've never seen before. I really tapped in to realize that the most important thing that we actually have is our mindset. And that is the only thing that I have found I could control I could control my mindset and be mentally tough and be strong for myself and including community and taking care of myself. You know, they say that on the airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
That's right. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But as life happens and we go through life, I mean, I've certainly had times when I was taking care of my parents and my mom and my dad and my business and my senior dogs, and we all have so many things pulling at us. It is a challenge in the big scheme of things. Though every time I nourish myself and take care of myself first, everything else just falls in place.
And this is a common conversation, especially with women, because we always put everybody first. It's an expectation, it's societal. I grew up in a very Italian family, and that is, you know, and grandmothers, you know, mothers, martyrs. I mean, it's just, so you have to reverse. You have to reverse. You have to say, listen, there's nothing wrong with saying me first. It's not saying I don't like you and I don't want any, I'm not going to throw like my kids, you're on your own. It's saying, let me take care of me. And so that I can be a better, you know, daughter, son, parent, you know, aunt, uncle, teacher, whatever, real estate agent, chiropractor, life coach, whatever. It's so that you can give the best version of yourself. It's filling your tank, you know?
Right. And I can relate. I grew up in, I'm Jewish, so I grew up with that Jewish guilt and,
oh yeah, food. The Italians got it down too. Yeah.
The food and the guilt and the, I was remembering a saying my dad said his mother used to say to him. She cooked turkey and roast beef, and she'd say, what do you want, turkey or roast beef? And he'd say, turkey. And she'd say, what's the matter? You don't like the roast beef? You know, but it was just food but here's what I also want to say, you know, about this taking care of other people. I will admit that what I found myself challenged in this last 8 months since October, as I went into these personal challenges with my health and fitness, and it became a challenge with myself of tweaking my diet and tweaking how I live my life. What I found during this time was that sometimes I would find that it was easier to try to take care of other people, because then that would be how I found my value, is if I did it good enough, or I got acknowledged, or felt like I was pleasing them, like a people pleaser. That was another way that I found validation. And
oh yeah,
it's an exhausting way to find validation, actually.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a little joke for you. So, it's actually it's about a Jewish mom, but really you could put an Italian mom, and I have friends in all types of backgrounds. So you could put a Puerto Rican mom, you could put whatever. So the question is, how many Jewish moms does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh.
And the answer is none. Never mind. I'll just sit here in the dark. Don't worry.
Yeah, right.
I don't need anybody to come visit me. I don't need, I don't need light.
Yeah, right.
So,
I'm fine. No, don't worry about me.
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
And let me tell you, that's exactly how the Italians are the same exact way. It was the same exact way.
That's hilarious.
So what?
Right.
So how has your? So we've gone beyond the questions that I have, but this is great, because how has your past created your present?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I was thinking about. So there's a couple pivotal times in my life that have made it a huge difference for me in reflecting back of my past. One was I had two different coaches I had one, I always played different sports. I tried out for everything in high school, even if I was the chubbiest, most heaviest swimmer and always came in last. I tried out for the swimming team, and I played all the sports I could play. I had one coach who was my basketball coach and tennis. And some point I remembered hearing her say, basketball, you're never going to get anywhere in basketball. So I believed her, and I didn't go out for basketball at college. And although people told me I should have, but I had another coach who was a junior varsity coach, and she said, Lisa, there's this game called indoor soccer. I think you'd really like it. And I was a junior in high school. And so I was a yes person then, and I still see myself as saying yes to things at times and being a yes. And so I was a yes to soccer, and I'd just be a pickup player and just go up and see if anybody needed a forward. And it turned out one day all this team needed was a goalie. And a minute before the team was about to start, and I begged for any other position. That was the only position I could play that night if I wanted to get some play time. And that was the beginning of my goalkeeping career. And I got a scholarship playing soccer, playing indoor. And so based on the skills, I learned that my mom suggested I get the coach to teach me how to play outdoor goalie, since I was going to be playing outdoor goalkeeping. And so what I learned is I always got further in life having a coach. Yeah. And that has made a huge difference for me. And then I always set out to be the best goalie I could be. I didn't even know there was anything called All-American. And when they awarded me an All-American award, I was a junior in college. I'd been playing soccer for maybe 3 years at that time. And then I ended up transferring schools, and the award was never up at the school, and it got, I don't know, it got lost or something. But what happened when I'd go back for all the alumni games, every year I'd go back and I'd hope that the award would be up at the multi-purpose building, and it was never there. And so 5 years into it, I just stopped going. And it was almost 20 years from the day I got All-American goalkeeper. I still believe the story that I was a failure because I transferred schools. And a friend of mine told me, and because the award was never up, and that was proof. And a friend of mine said to me one day, she goes, maybe they just lost the award, and they just, and I considered like, maybe my view wasn't the truth. So I called the athletic director. I introduced myself. He stopped me midstream. He said, we know who you are. There's articles all about you. Do you have a copy of the award? I sent him, I said, yeah, I have it on a floppy disk. I'll email it to you. And he said, by the way, your name had come up to be in the Hall of Fame, but because you didn't graduate from Rolla, we cannot induct you in the Hall of Fame. So the first thought I had was, see, you're a failure. You shouldn't have transferred schools. But then the next thing that came out was, well, Mark, for what it's worth, I did graduate from the University of Missouri Columbia, which is all part of the University of Missouri school system. I have a degree in math with a minor in computer science. And they had no idea about that. And 2 weeks later, I got a letter congratulating me. I was being inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I went back for the Hall of Fame induction. And I'll never forget the induction was amazing. It was 2002. So that was 1983, I got All-American award. In 2002, so almost 20 years later, I walked into the multi-purpose building in those double doors that I'd gone in every year prior after, believing one story, going in through those double doors that day and seeing the All-American award up. And I just sobbed. I was just like, it was so validated and real in that moment. The whole trajectory of my future altered because I bought into now a belief in a story that I'm a success. I believe something else though. And then so what I learned from that is our mind is so powerful, what we tell ourselves.
That's right. God, that's what a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Brene Brown talks about that. She says that you know, it's the story that we play in our minds. And most of the time the story's not even true. And we perpetuate it. We recycle it. We reaffirm it. We tell people the story. We tell
It's so true.
the story. And then we take that and then we get parts of other stories and then we fill in the gaps because we fill in with what we know, which might have nothing to do with the actual story, but that's just human nature. And it's about, you know, I mean, we could look at it and say, my God, 20 years, you know, is almost 20 years that what would have been if you had a different, if there was a different outcome earlier. But it is what it is. Your life went the way it was supposed to, period.
Yeah. You know, it just is like the whole thing with, I mean, certainly there's the what it could have, wondering.
Yeah, the would have, could have, should have.
I suppose the real thing and the joy I take from it is then seeing that we can rewrite our story. It was It was 10 years later that our 1983 soccer team was inducted in the Hall of Fame. So I'm in there twice. And where I believed I had pulled my team apart, that was just a story I told myself. So I brought the team back together. And then, you know, I do believe that we can stick to any belief we want to. And I do believe we can rewrite our story and we can rewrite anything that happened in the past to be how we want it to describe it. It's perspective is everything. And
that's right.
I met a gentleman last summer. He's called Dr. Happy. You know, there's 1,440 minutes in every day. How many of those minutes are we going to put in the happy bucket? Because at the end of the day, really, at the end of the day, you know, when I feel happy and I'm happy, life is joyful. And so why not stick to those things that make me happy and keep focused on those?
Yeah.
There's enough that's not, that's for sure. I'm not saying don't be in reality. I am saying, though, that we have a lot of control over much more than we give ourselves credit for.
Oh, yes. And you know, you doing that, making that choice to be happy every day, it gives people permission to do the same thing. And you smiling and you being happy and nice and compassionate to somebody else, there's certain people that will not take it in, but there's other people that will take it in so graciously and with so much gratitude because they want to be that way, and maybe they were afraid to be that way or something held them back. So I definitely believe that as well. I think that, you know, I'm always that way. That was a decision I made 5 years ago when I changed my way of thinking and my mindset and just said, I want to smile as much as possible. I want to be happy as much as possible. I don't care who it is, you know, that I'm sending it out to. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's, we're not happy enough. And while not every situation will be happy, you could day, though, at the end of your day, was it a good day or a bad day? And every day technically is a good day if you learned something from the challenges that you had.
Definitely. And I think I learned also that I could have sadness. People died, and I've had a lot of death in my family. I've my sister, my brother, my mom, my dad, my dogs. I mean, people die, people get sick, and it sucks. And it's life and death, and I learned that I could have sadness, but I don't have to be sad. Like I thought for a long time I had to be sad. I don't know if it was the upbringing, like if others were suffering, how could I really be happy? Or if so-and-so died, how could I be happy? And I learned over time that I could have all those emotions and I could have them all at the same time. And it was okay, and to allow myself all of the spectrum of emotions.
And, you know, I think the big message here, because we went into so many different directions, but we did, I mean, even though we didn't hit the key like questions, and you answered them. I mean, you did. The only thing was that, so the title that you chose for this, we have a couple more minutes left, Learning to Live Beyond Limits. So why is this so important, especially now? Like, what is, if you could say it in like 2 minutes, what do you, the title in 2 minutes.
So the title in 2 minutes, Living Beyond Our Limits. And so one of my dreams has always been, ever since I was a kid, to make a difference for people. And in the last 3 to 6 months, I've shared more online. I've shared more with people to be there, to be an inspiration for others, that that anything is possible for us. And I never would have believed that I could go through what I went through during some of our most challenging times and continue to transform my own fitness and my health and my body. And I've transformed every aspect of my life in the last 3 months. And my business is even transforming as we speak. And then I see possibility that I'm enrolled in a class to be a certified nutritional coach, and I really see the possibility of helping people reach their fitness and lifestyle goals with the lifestyle transformation that I've made for myself in my life, and just being a constant yes to trying new things in life. New opportunities and possibilities continue to unfold as I continue to go beyond my limits. I'll end with this analogy. So I heard this one day, so if you put fleas in a jar and it's got a lid on it, eventually if you took that lid off, the fleas would only go to where that imaginary lid was.
No kidding.
So we're not fleas. We do think there's an imaginary lid on us.
Yes.
But the sky is really the limit. And when we start to consider maybe we're not the person that we think we are,
yeah, that's fantastic.
Possibilities just start unfolding.
That's right. I love that. And Lisa, where could people find you if they want to, to get, when you're ready to do the coaching? You're already doing it, but where could people find you?
So my email address is lisa@lisafrumhoff.com, like Frumhoff, pronounced Frumhoff, like where are you from? Frumhoff. Lisa Frumhoff. Lisa@lisafrumhoff.com. You could also Google me. I'm all over social media. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. And I will be looking forward to connecting with anybody who reaches out to me. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
So thank you so much for coming on tonight. We're very honored to have you with your beautiful story. Very inspirational. And I just want to do some shout outs quick to Frank and Carmen. So glad you guys came on. And Michelle said, clean food, no sugar, good fats have gotten my inflammation from tick-borne illness under control. I no longer crave unhealthy foods or have urges to overeat. That's so fabulous, Michelle. And Michelle's a fantastic dog person, by the way, and horse person. And so she's good people. And so thank you so much.